And now, for the first time in 7 days, let's open our eyes. Let's look at some truly terrifying tales from around the world. The year was 1819. The place, a remote Spanish monastery named Estoril. The problem, a lack of food. And so the monks decided that if they starved themselves, God would be impressed by their sacrifice, and he would reveal himself to them, or maybe just give them some crisps. But unfortunately, God didn't speak to them. He didn't even give them crisps, but something else did. Before we start, I need to say this story is vile and disturbing, and has lots of dark themes which may upset some people. Viewer discretion is advised. In the Heresy monastery, there were 9 monks living in poverty and filth. There was no heating, the roof leaked, and all they had to eat was the bread made from sawdust. They were so poor, in fact, that when one of them died and went to get a new one, they literally couldn't afford to replace him. So instead, they turned to an even more extreme form of prayer, which I'm not going to describe here because YouTube might ban me. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. And they call it the Feast of Shadows. Every single day, each man would spend 12 hours locked in a room with nothing but a Bible and a candle. Then every night, they'd meet up and share their visions and have some water and dry bread. Visions that I won't describe here, because YouTube might ban me. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. But after 7 days, when they opened the doors to leave their rooms, they didn't go out. They crawled. Their legs had become so weak from disuse that they couldn't walk. But still, they persisted with their ritual, dragging themselves to the chapel each evening and consuming the Eucharist, a Christian communion that contains wine and wafers, symbolizing Christ's blood and body. They drank the wine, but they left the wafer uneaten, saving it for the next night. But on the 8th night, when they broke their fast, they didn't stop eating the wafers. In fact, they ate so many that night that hundreds of them were consumed. Now, I don't know how many times I need to tell you guys this, but I'll tell you again, just in case you haven't been listening. These men hadn't eaten solid food in 8 days, so they felt quite ill after having consumed so much starch in one go. They were sick for a few hours, but then they all fell into a deep sleep. A sleep that would last them for several days. When they awoke, they were surrounded by flies, and their beds were covered in lice. They were so weak that they had to crawl again to get to the bathroom, where they noticed something disgusting. All of them had wet their beds, and, well, other openings. They realized what had happened. They had urinated and defecated uncontrollably because their bodies had finally given up after 8 days of starvation. Then it got worse. The stench from their soiled beds attracted rats, which then began to feast on the monks, causing horrific infections. One of the monks, Brother Juniper, described the scene that followed. A dreadful and continuous itching, biting, gnawing, scratching, roaring and gnashing of teeth can be heard in the novitiate, especially at night, when all the rats come to play and hold their orgies. This went on until 14 of the monks died. Those that remained alive wrote letters begging for help, but they never received any. Maybe it's for the best. I mean, what kind of help could they have offered? Oh, hi there, Father Juniper. We got your message saying you need some help. Yeah, you and 13 of your dead friends. Don't worry, we're sending over some pizza and some rat poison. Should cover it. Time passed and more monks died. By April 1820, only 2 were alive. Those 2 monks survived for another year by drinking salty water and eating bread made from sawdust. That's not really surviving. That's just delaying death. Eventually, though, they too perished, leaving the monastery empty once more. It's hard to say what the worst part of this story is. Is it the starving monks? The rats feasting on their rotting flesh? Or the fact that they all died because they couldn't afford to replace one of their members when he left the monastery? I mean, come on, guys. You got a budget. If one of your 9-member team leaves, you gotta find a replacement, or you'll die. It's just basic math. But hey, maybe they did all this for a reason. Maybe to atone for their sins. Maybe to get closer to God. Well, whatever the reason, it must have worked, right? I mean, they are saints after all. But actually, no, they're not. These weren't the starving saints. These were the starving sinners. What makes someone a saint is that they lead a pure and holy life. They deny themselves earthly pleasures, but not to the point of self-harm. They do it to better themselves, not to get closer to God. The difference is that saints help people. They heal the sick, raise the dead, calm the storms, feed the hungry, turn water into wine, that sort of thing. These monks, on the other hand, harmed themselves and nobody else. Self-harm isn't helping yourself. It's harming yourself. And they didn't even help anyone else. They just wasted away in a building that had clearly seen better days, releasing barely a whisper of their plight before they too joined the countless others who died in the very same way. So no, these men weren't saints. They were sinners. Or maybe, just maybe, they were something worse. You see, most stories of saints involve things like miracles and divine intervention. And while this story doesn't involve either of those things, there is something that's just a little bit miraculous about it. These men locked themselves in rooms for 7 days. They abstained from food and water, and probably would have died if they hadn't broken their fast. But instead of being saved by God, they were saved by their own bodily functions. Think about it. Their bowels gave out, causing them to uncontrollably defecate, and their bladders gave out, causing them to uncontrollably urinate. That allowed the rats to come in and finish the job. While technically it was their own waste that killed them, it was the rats that picked up the slack. The rats did what their bodies should have done and got rid of the rest of them. The monks would have eventually died from dehydration, but the rats accelerated their deaths by introducing infection. And that sped up the decomposition process. So really, it was the rats that saved them, not God. Of course, I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm not a religious scholar, so take my analysis with a pinch of salt. And also take these horror stories with a pinch of salt too, because, well, it's not real. None of it is. It's just a story designed to make you feel uncomfortable. Hey, thanks for watching. Maybe leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want some more stories just like this. Here's one I did previously on a similar subject. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.